Hello. Hi, this is Vishal from CNCT out of Seattle, here to talk about predicting health and capacity of infrastructure using a new product that we launched. It's called X.Insights. Before I get into what X.Insight is, I want to set up some context for you guys. As you know, the companies are trying to monitor their assets, and they use something called key performance indicators, the KPIs. And however, a single indicator does not give a good picture of the asset. Every asset has a lot of different framework as well as more insights into it, that one single indicator will not go and work very well for that. Things like you have to look into revenue, look at employees, look at machine yield to see how a company is performing. And they usually do this using stored dashboards and things like that. So the issue with that is decision makers are not sure how to combine these metrics and to gain a very good holistic view of the performance, health, or capacity. There are other issues, underlying issues, understanding metrics. Most impacts performance is difficult. Some of the assets have unique characteristics that everybody has to have the domain knowledge to understand how they're performing. And different decision makers have different level of understanding of those metrics as well, which makes it very difficult to understand what the role or behavior of the real metrics or the asset is. Banking industry, as you know, solved this problem by creating a score that gives a simple way of a banker to assess financial risk for its customers. It's called a credit score that takes into account a lot of metrics and a lot of information and a lot of character about the person they're trying to target. But this score gives you a range from 0 to 800, and 735 is a good range. Anything below may not be a risky thing, but one score gives you a lot of insight. So based on that concept, what we did was Xinside helped decision maker understand how well their business or their infrastructure layout is working by a simple representation of a score. That said, synthesizing multiple metrics into a single easy to underscore can accelerate understanding of it, the behavior and performance and assessment of the situation. Plus, it also goes out and based on its previous knowledge to improve the score, it also predicts performance and health. So decision makers can now focus on improving their business by getting a clear path for action instead of trying to figure out what that metrics or the asset behavior is in real life. So why would we use AI for this? It actually uncovers a lot of relationship between these assets, and they are very hard to identify and formulate. And these matrices for these assets is not limited to a linear relationship. Sometimes they're non-linear and they're very complex as well. And as the flavor or the layout of this infrastructure changes over a period of time, the context also changes and it's dynamic. And that impacts the weight and the factors which may be constantly changing as well. So AI takes into account of all these moving parts and to be able to create a good, solid score. So going forward, what is Xinside? This platform is a data-driven platform that automates the assessment of business assets using the power of AI to create a score and the factors that most impact performance and health. And how it does it in 4 different steps. It collects the matrices, then defines a KPI which business owners or users want to focus on. And it builds an AI model. CNCT with SDS, America has co-jointly created this engine that creates and builds AI model. And based on this AI model, it builds scores and recommendations. So all this is synthetic KPIs, which is a collection of a lot of KPIs. They get assimilated into a single KPI or a score that easily and managed and consumed by business owners. Now I'll talk a little bit about the conceptual architecture, how it works. So we take into account a lot of data sources. It could be IoT devices, customer data, third-party data, that we consume all these matrices, whether they are coming in as already being generated by the system, or we can install some exporters that can harness this information as we go along. So once the data collection is done, data is modeled, score is calculated, and it's exported via APIs. And end users can now consume in their systems in a portal, in a web portal, or they can also export the data in its raw format to run some BI or intelligence onto it as they seem possible. This is also managed. This platform is also role-based access control is part of this platform, where a user can be given the right information which they should have access to. And you can define a user type and different roles and access levels there as well. So for CNCT, we are targeting one use case. Basically, it's the CFO of a data center wants to know, is the infrastructure utilized at its optimal? Do we need to purchase equipment? These are the questions they ask their analysts all the time. Do we need to spend more money? Can we use our existing equipment more efficiently? Can we drive efficiency higher? So this is a use case that we're going after with Xinside based on user requirements, as well as based on the layout of the infrastructure can be customized to give more insights from operational side of things or cost factors as well. But this is the first use case that we are targeting and implemented. We have 3 data centers, SDS managed, that are currently monitoring this. So let me talk about how this core structure that gets assimilated. We have, for a data center, for its utilization and performance, what we target is compute data, energy data, storage data, and networking data, which gets computed in a score model. And based on that trend, it creates a score. So as you can see on the screen, we have a compute score as a sample at 64%, energy score at 74%, storage at 85%, and network score at 73%. They get all combined into a Uber score based on their weights. And they are dynamically calculated on weekly and daily basis as the data comes in. For compute usage data, we look at multiple deployments, GPU, CPU utilizations. For energy, we can intercept IMPI data that comes from asset and HVAC behavior, because it drives the cost of the infrastructure higher or lower. Storage data can also be utilized with latency policies, quotas, and disk monitoring and things like that. And networking usage data can be bandwidth, latency, switch activity. So all of these metrics, we have about 200 metrics in our data center that are being produced, but we are harnessing about 16 of them, which again consumed into 4 different buckets to drive this overall score. Now, let me talk about a little bit of the data flow for the storage and the algorithms that drives it. In this, we calculate the performance based on a weighting algorithm that weights each and every matrix coming in, that goes through a scoring algorithm that rolls it up into a score. And then there's a roll-up algorithm that combines all of these scores based on their weights and scores to create that Uber score. We also have a prediction algorithm that looks at the historical data and how they were computed over the period of time. And that prediction goes out and creates a view into the future. So not only you can look at your current state, but also you can manage your future state. And it produces a recommendation based on the future score. So CFO can look at a score, the recommendation, the actions that relate to that score, and based on that, it will give you a recommendation whether you need to invest more in your infrastructure, or if you want to invest in optimizing the usage, or work with your end users to utilize the network and system better. This is currently working in R&D Cloud. It has been implemented, like I said, in 3 data centers. We are looking at these data centers. This is the UI that you can look at, compute score at 14. And we are not collecting in this particular data center the energy scores, but network and storage seems healthy. How, as an end user, you would come to look at the details, why compute score is so low, even though the overall score based on network and storage is kind of healthy, in a healthy range of 42. When we drill down into it, it gives you why this score is low. So it looks like we have low utilization. There is a score trend. You can look into the historical trends, which gives you the past performance. And AI engine drives a forecast trend over a period of time. It gives you, based on the AI model that we built, gives you an action. Because your utilization is so low right now, there's no purchase needed within 3 months. And it gives a feedback as well for the end user that existing resources are not sufficiently utilized. So now you don't have to, as a CFO or a decision maker, work with analysts to look at a lot of metrics and time series data, but you can just look at the score and get action and feedback to drive insight into it. And once you look at this and feedback into the system, you can work on improving the score to drive the overall score of the network. Now, the question is, not all infrastructure or data management layers have the same footprint. There is a customization, a UI available for end users as well. They can look at network, energy, or score, and they can drive significance for all of them based on whether they want to focus more on network side or put medium or high. So this way you can customize the lay of the land. Basically, if your data center has more GPUs or CPUs, or your focus is more on GPUs, you can give more significance to your GPU matrix versus CPU matrix and drive the overall score. There's some threshold as well. Some users have defined threshold for these traffic lights, as we say, from 0 to 30 is not good. 30 to 60 is fair. 60 to 90 or 100 is good. You can adjust those thresholds as well. And you can adjust an interval adjustment where you can go out and adjust the time period in the future. And there are some power settings that are very specific to data centers, which can be customized so that the weighting algorithm can take into account as it calculates everything. So now that I said how this system works, the scoring system, it's all about collecting the data and then going through the AI model and coming out with scores. As a user, if you want to onboard, the system is available, this platform is available to run either in your on-prem location or as a SaaS service, or we can run it for you in our CNCT run data centers. The whole process is about 8 or 10 steps. The way it works, we want to understand the layout of your network on data centers. So customer, as yourself, would be defining business objectives, which defines the KPIs. Based on that, we consult with that. And then we create a matrix candidates list that is based on those objectives and correlates to it. Either the exporters are available running in your system, or they need to be enabled. And that helps define a data stream that we can help define and implement, and corresponding metrics can be collected, which are collected into a database with historical data. And then matrix relevance, as we go along over a period of time, matrix relevance is assessed. And then coming back to the end user, we look at the matrix scorings based on the decision that were made. And the list is formalized over a period of time, with design and goes to a model to compute scores. You can look at the customer can approve the design and see if all the relevance and the list of metrics that you're looking at defines the KPIs and matches the business objective that you're targeting after. That list goes through the AI Excel Xinside engine. It computes the scores on regular basis, updates the dashboard where end users can look in, and they can also get action and feedback. This review is a constant process. And as end users take action on those metrics, like I explained, if they're low or medium or high, and you want to focus onto that, you take action on a regular basis, which improves the matrix performance, improves the compute scores, and then keeps updating the dashboard. So this is a cycle. And as we go and the network is being utilized over a period of time, it will be get more and more refined, and you will get more relevant actions and feedback coming through the AI engine. So it improves as it goes along. So we are today collecting the matrix, like I said, about 16 of them, and coming up with the capacity planning and resource utilization metrics and health of the system. In the future, what we want to do is, as we collect more and more data, we would have more accuracy. We want to drive accuracy higher, and AI model gets higher accuracy as it collects more actuals versus calculated matrices scoring that can be drive accuracy, and we can increase the breadth of matrices as well to drive accuracy. That's in the pipeline. For visualization, we want to create widgets that can be extensible. So we want to build the system to be more extensible, and you can consume the look and feel you want within your platforms. And then we want to explore more use cases based on market research, like if you want to build in cost models, what is your current cost versus what will be your future cost, and explore operation efficiencies, as well as look at operational failure, mean time to failure in the future as well. We can collect those metrics. So we are working on that. So I want to summarize for end user what is Xinside again. Xinside collects usage, process data from around the data centers, aggregates it, and then analyzes it into a series of health scores, which is again summarized into an overall score, like explained in the whole process. Xinside computes a forecast for each score. As you can see, that will happen in the near future. They can adjust the time period, and they can look into 1 week or 2 weeks in advance. And as the accuracy model and the data is enhanced over a period of time and collected, this future time period can be increased, and the level of accuracy can increase based on historical data. And then Xinside also outputs a purchase recommendation for equipment. So based on what the score is, it gives you whether you need to buy more equipment or not, or you have to drive your utilization. So in a nutshell, this is what Xinside does, and look forward to working with you. Thank you.